The difference between Lindsey Graham and John McCain is that John McCain would call it like it is, no matter who he was referring to, or what party they belonged to. In a word, John McCain was a forthright individual. Not so much for Graham, he's more of a, which way is the wind blowing today, type of person, as he has shown time and again in regard to ex-President Trump. In his latest endeavor in that regard, Graham was quoted as saying that there will be riots in the street if Trump is prosecuted for mishandling classified information, especially after the Clinton debacle. Of course, in true Republican fashion, Graham is completely ignoring the fact that Clinton was investigated in that matter, and no charges were filed. To be clear, Graham is stating, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that his buddy, Trump, should not be charged in regard to taking classified documents home with him, some of them top-secret documents. Otherwise, there will be rioting in the streets of our United States. Let's make sure that you caught that. A sitting, senior United States Senator is echoing that if his buddy is charged with a crime, for the crime that his buddy already committed, that there will be rioting in the streets. Now, one would think that a sitting senior United States Senator would be calling for any person, of any party, to be held accountable to the law, for possessing classified top-secret documents in their personal residence. Presumably, if top-secret documents fell into the wrong hands, there could be serious consequences for the United States. Now, one doesn't have to have much of an imagination to see that the Republican Party of today is akin to Chicago-style gangsters of the late 19th and early 20th centuries. But damn! For a sitting senior United States Senator to openly state that there will be rioting if his chum is charged with crimes, invokes images of Graham and Trump holding Thompson submachine guns, ready to challenge anyone who would even remotely dream of holding Trump accountable for anything. Staying right in step with Trump in true Graham fashion, Graham has also echoed that most Republicans, including him, believe that when it comes to the ex-president, there is no law, there is a double standard, and it's all about getting him being Trump. Once again, in true Republican fashion, Graham completely ignores the fact that classified documents, some of them being top secret, were recovered from, were found to be in, were carried out of, Trump's personal residence, which is against the law. This channel, USA Under Siege, believes that any elected official, such as a sitting senator, that is not calling for calm and restraint in a situation such as this, should immediately be removed from office. To even echo riots in the street, instead of pleading for calm and calling for justice to be served, regardless of party, regardless of person, is unconscionable. Law professor and former White House ethics chief Richard Painter was quoted as saying, "A senator who calls for riots in the streets if Trump is indicted should be expelled from the Senate." He's inciting January 6 all over again. The Washington Post editorial board stated, "There is no excuse for this irresponsible rhetoric, which not only invites violence, but also defies democratic norms." Richard Haass, the president of the Council on Foreign Relations, echoed that the prediction that violence may follow any prosecution of the former president may not qualify legally as incitement, but it is irresponsible all the same, as it will be seen by some as a call for violence. Public officials are obliged to call for the rule of law. Let that sink in for a minute. Public officials are obliged to call for the rule of law. Sounds pretty common sense, doesn't it? One would think that any public official with an ounce of dignity, and who has any respect for their country, would not be groveling at the feet of an ex-president who is under investigation for possible illegal activity and obstruction of justice, irregardless of who that person is, and irregardless of what party that person is associated with. Former Republican Congressman Joe Walsh, who has emerged as a Trump critic, states that threats of violence should never stop the pursuit of justice. Never. And you know that, Lindsey. But you're too much of a coward to say that. Shameful, Walsh said. Hundreds upon hundreds of fellow Americans have been charged in regard to the Capitol riot. Undisputably one of the darkest days of American history. Wouldn't you think that any person holding public office would be trying to dissuade their fellow Americans from doing anything that would put them in the crosshairs of the law, especially since that person is in office to serve fellow Americans in the first place? Graham has been Trump's whipping boy more times than one can count on both hands. One minute he announces that he's cutting ties with Trump, the next minute, Graham is touting Trump to America once again. Graham has made many comments about Trump, including calling Trump a jackass, calling him a kook that could destroy the party, saying that Trump went too far in regard to the insurrection. Graham even personally reviewed Trump's voter fraud allegations and found them to be pitiful, more suitable for third grade than national politics. After the riot, Graham was quoted as saying, "I hate it to end this way. Oh my God, I hate it. All I can say is count me out, enough is enough." Graham also made the statement that, when it comes to accountability, Trump needs to understand that his actions were the problem, not the solution. At that point, Graham seemed to be making logical observations, based on what he saw take place. Unfortunately, in true Republican fashion, that level-headedness was gone quicker than a Republican could fleece a supporter. Trump, as you might remember, had been impeached on a single charge of incitement of insurrection after the riots at the U.S. Capitol on January 6. Graham served as an informal advisor to Trump's defense team during his Senate impeachment trial. After the Senate voted to acquit former President Trump in his second impeachment trial, Graham released a statement, saying, in part, "This was an impeachment effort driven by passion and hatred against President Trump." Graham also reportedly spoke to the former president nearly daily since the riot took place, more frequently than any of his Republican colleagues in the Senate. And just days after the insurrection, Graham met with Trump for hours to discuss quietly finishing his term and the potential of impeachment, among other topics. In private and public, Graham has taken on Republicans who are critical of Trump. Apparently, the wind changed direction. But, in Graham's defense, he was accosted by pro-Trump supporters who denounced him as a traitor at Washington's Reagan National Airport, just days after his "Count Me Out" speech, so Graham is keenly aware of. Those who cross Trump pay the price with his supporters, who happen to be some of the same people that Graham has described as domestic terrorists. This channel, USA Under Siege, was under the impression that Lindsey Graham was a better person than to back someone who would incite a riot in the very capital of our United States, without any regard whatsoever. America deserves better than this from our elected officials. Thanks for watching USA Under Siege. Please subscribe, ring the notification bell, and like our videos.